Chapter 17, To the Moon and Maybe Beyond. On one of my final days staying with Chris, I had to face the music about my land acquisition side hustle being stone cold dead. I lost 5 grand and got nothing back except a nice collection of lowball offers returned to me with the delightful notes like, screw you, lowballer, scribbled across them by barely appreciative landowners. Plus, with all these new spiritual energies surging through me, acquisitions just felt wrong now. How the hell, I thought, was I going to make the passive income fortune I needed to leave my corporate gig and meditate full time? The same day I officially killed the land acquisition business, I got a message from my friend Dan in Denver about launching a crypto meme coin based on Eric Cartman from South Park. Meme coins like Pepe the Frog were absolutely exploding at the time, and this seemed like solid gold in a way more entertaining path to $100,000 than soul crushing acquisitions. Because nothing says spiritual awakening quite like shilling a cartoon coin based on a cynical, low frequency show that systematically mocked every religion and spiritual practice on the planet. Absolutely nothing about my life and decision making has ever made coherent sense. And this was with me being primarily medicated for my ADHD. So I can't even use that as an excuse. I was so desperate for financial freedom that I kept trusting the right gimmick would finally crack the code. This was going to be way easier than grinding through land deals, and Dan's marketing genius combined with my systems building approach felt like a winning formula. I interpreted this as divine message pointing toward the abundance I'd been chasing. The cosmic breadcrumbs seemed to keep dropping, as I'd just scored a promotion at my employer after building a document retrieval system that was saving sales reps hours of work every week. They actually named this retrieval bot after me, so I was riding high on my technical prowess and feeling unstoppable. This gleaming spiritual trophy called Enlightenment seemed practically guaranteed now. With Chris plugged into all these advanced practitioners and Eva having achieved it in just a few years, my ego was dead convinced I would beat her record and do it in 2. A few days after the psychedelic trip, Chris told me there was one last ticket to a retreat in Ireland hosted by a man named Gareth, who was in Brahman-consciousness and could transmit his energies and expand my consciousness at a rapid rate. Incredulous that that was real, I told Chris I would do his free Zoom meditation and ask for a sign that he's the real deal and if I should go to his retreat. With that, I hopped on his session the next day with no expectations. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on each of your screens transmitting the energies, he said to the 40-some attendees that day. Some of you will feel it when it hits you. Just relax and allow whatever happens to happen without resistance. Whatever, dude, I thought, still thinking it was all placebo at best and a complete farce at worst. But I was here, so screw it. Give me a sign, Gareth, that I should go to your retreat. 10 minutes in, nothing but my racing thoughts. 20 minutes in, still nothing, and I was getting restless. Then at around the 40-minute mark, a light showed up in the top right corner of my closed eye visual. It started flickering and growing bigger as a powerful energy began piercing downwards from the top of my head and then into my forehead and then down my spine, sucking me deeper and deeper into stillness. Before I knew it, thoughts had diminished and lost their power, and 2.5 hours of pure stillness took hold. Then, out of nowhere, what I believed to be an Arcturian alien showed up in a vision, placing 2 of his 3 fingers into my head, and I felt a deep healing of mental traumas and distortions taking hold. When the healing was finished, I felt connected to a divine presence that I'd never experienced before, and I was blown away. Now that is a sign, I said to myself. I reached for the laptop to book his retreat. Then, centered on the base of it, were 3 alien fingerprints that was not there before the session and took 8 hours to disappear. Nothing else in the room could make that shape. And later, Master would confirm that it was the LCS speaking to me, 100% convincing me to do the retreat and get me on the path. Now, Nothing else in the room could make that happen, right? And if that really is the LCS speaking to me, I absolutely had to do it. Had it not happened, one master told me, I may have not decided to go on the retreat. This was a literal manifestation from God to get me straight. Again, there was nothing else that could have made that in the entire room. Holy shit. I sent Gareth an email right away explaining the situation, asking if he worked with interdimensional beings and if he was one himself. No, I don't, he wrote back the next day. But the LCS likely placed it there to expand your awareness beyond the 3D reality and see what's possible. I wasted no time in booking his 7-day intensive retreat at a remote location deep in Ireland. With that, I bid Chris farewell and thanked him for his remarkable generosity. And like the spiritual student setting off from the teacher's ashram, I booked my flight back to the States and headed to Denver for what was now my third relocation there. On my first day, I realized I needed serious backup to make this coin thing work, but I was working with just $1,000 in available funds. So I hit up Reddit searching for virtual assistants in the Philippines to help build and market the coin. A guy named Krister came back with his team and a comprehensive strategy that had me completely hooked, especially at just $5 an hour. With this A team in place, I worked day and night on that silly coin, while Dan worked, well, sometimes, whenever he wasn't producing music. But I ignored that, still needing the free labor and his Web3 knowledge to help build my inevitable fortune. I diligently trained up the VAs and started executing. And holy sweet baby Jesus, our crypto coin was on fire. We'd hit 800% gains in a couple of weeks, and we're getting serious attention in the crypto forums. The LCS could not have been more abundant in rewarding me my efforts, and I felt secure leading the trained team with Dan leading in my absence as I embarked on my first spiritual retreat. My phone was going to be switched off the entire time, and I was certain that when the retreat ended, I'd emerge to find tens of thousands of dollars sitting in coins. Because that's how I felt God worked back then. I mean, why else would so many things finally, for the first time in 5 years, start to align so darn well? I was off to Ireland, where enlightenment and my super cool psychic abilities were waiting for me. To infinity and beyond.